So I'm not a prepper, but I resemble one. I mean, I enjoy learning a lot of the same things that a prepper might enjoy. Like, for instance, I lived off grid homesteading for about 15 years and just was fascinated and still am with learning to grow my own food, raise animals, and basically learn how to do everything as close to the bone as possible, as close to the source, the kind of original way, as kind of raw as possible. So it really does resemble a lot of the same things a prepper might be learning, but I'm learning it from a place of love, not fear. And that's a major difference. So if you take a look at like kind of the preppers, they that are prepping out of fear, they might like stockpile like weapons and create bunkers and load it with food and even learn some of the same skills that I'm fascinated with learning. But, you know, we've had a lot of kind of end of the world scares in my lifetime, and strangely, and they kind of like come and go. They end up selling their stuff and spiraling out because they're not doing it out of love. And I'm just fascinated by it. I'm actually joyful in learning how to grow food or, raise animals or, create energy or live without electricity, even just kind of skipping over needing to create my own electricity, although I'm fascinated with that too. So like, I think about it like plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. So it's not just plan B. A lot of people know about plan B, but I like plan C, and so on and so forth. I like to take it all the way back to the source, and I actually end up having a lot of fun the further back I get. So you start off kind of plugged into the grid, then you get off the grid, you have an alternative source of energy, like I had solar panels. But then I started thinking about other forms like, water generating, water wheel. And then I started thinking, well, what about just living without electricity? Okay, I'm just going to carry my water. Okay, do I create a yoke, carry it like evenly balanced on that yoke? Or do I, is it easier to carry it by handles? And what are the buckets made out of? And how can I make those buckets? And, on and on and on. I find it fascinating and fun. And I'm not doing it from a fear-based place. So the thing is I can take that love of learning and that experience in a lot of these fields of survival, let's say, and I can take it with me wherever I go. I actually don't even need to own that land or that farm. I have that experience. I have that curiosity. I have that love. I have that interest. And then if everybody else follows what they're passionate about and what lights them up, let's say they're into making clothes, or they're into other things, other categories, although I'm fascinated with that too. But like, you find somebody that loves to do one thing and I'm loving to do this thing, and then we get together and we share these things and we survive together. Surviving alone is a lot harder and not as much fun, but it requires, if you're going to work together, communication. And the thing is a lot of people are worried about the kind of grids of communication going down, and that's real. But I do look at our situation right now where we have more communication ability, kind of network, than ever. We have this kind of internet and all these methods to communicate with each other. And yet in some circles, between some people, communication is totally breaking down. And simultaneously, while our ability, our kind of network, our technology of communication is increasing, the ability to actually communicate is decreasing. And so what use is this technology of communication if we're not actually communicating, if we can't actually even have a conversation? Now, that's not true across the board. I mean, there are actually really amazing circles that are communicating really well with each other and using this amazing technology. So I'm not saying that it's all kind of just this or that, or I'm not trying to simplify it. There's a bunch of different versions, but I am just kind of trying to like explore the idea that, what is communication tech if the communication is, connections are broken down. It's more about being able to connect with your environment, because listening into what's available in your environment, or the people in your environment, the animals in your environment. This is really everything is about communication, or one side of communication is listening. And the deeper we can listen to the land, to each other, to our own heartbeat, our own breath, the better we stand a chance to survive. I really say this because it's not only about communicating with other people, and listening to other people, but you're your own worst enemy, so to speak. Like, you can defeat yourself with your thoughts in the middle of the night without anything physical or real ever happening. And, survival is actually, it's a lot of spirit. It's a lot of listening too, which is going to connect you to that spirit. And so, listening to the land of where you are, the environment of where you are, and what its strengths and weaknesses are is also very important. Just like if one person is really good at, crafting in this way, another person's really good at growing food in that way, just staying where your strengths are. Same way with the land. Like, if I have a really strong brook or river, that actually lends itself to things like, well, there's probably many clean sources of water, springs feeding that. And then that water itself is also pretty clean. That's an amazing thing. There's the information that the water carries. The naturally vortexing water brings health and information. Just immersing yourself in that water will reset your health. Ingesting clean water, alive water, wild water, of course. And then you could use that water as a power source. The old water wheel powered the mills. I mean, we don't need to manufacture, we might be cut off from manufacturing solar panels, but within your own body, your own self is a solar panel. We gain energy from light, and then there's water available. You don't need to construct anything but a simple wheel to harness that water. It is very close to the source, very close to the bone, very close to the marrow, the juice, the soul, the origin, going into the origin of things. And the closer we can do that, the better we can connect and listen to the strengths and the weaknesses of our given environment, ourself, others, and work with those. So I'm not going to try to grow massive crops on a rocky, craggy land with wild rushing rivers, but I might harness that water power. But the pasture, open, sunlit, deep soil land lends itself to animals and crops, but not so much harvesting wood for fire in your wood stove if you're in the north, as I am. So And same way with, we each are our own terrain. It's like, I have my own terrain. I have my own strengths and weaknesses, and you are your own terrain. And if we can listen to the terrain of the actual land that we're on and the actual environment that we're in, and then the terrain within us, and then sync that up and have a sort of a choreography will be born from that, will emerge from that honesty, from that listening, from that love. That's what love is. And fear would be kind of something else, where fear is not coherent. It's this chaotic thing. It's definitely not listening. It doesn't work very well for survival. So, yeah, listening to the terrain, listening to the environment, listening within, listening.